We're live. This will be posted on YouTube as well as the group. If you're on YouTube, this is a live chat and you will see us talking to people on the screen. Well, our first one's joined. Hi, Tracy.
Hello.
Tracy, if you got questions, don't hesitate to ask us tonight.
Yeah, we always encourage questions. One of the reasons why we're live here tonight. And so what's our subject for tonight?
Well, let's wait a couple of minutes. We got a few more people logging on before I go into it too much, but it's going to be about why maybe your scale is not going in the downward trend. Oops. Okay, my brother, excuse me, is texting me.
Hi, Curry, Carla. Glad you guys could join us this evening.
My brother couldn't find me live, so hopefully he'll figure it out.
He's pretty smart.
Dr. John and I have been keto for about 2 years now, him just a little longer than myself. And so we've both experienced some ups and downs and some stalls and some mistakes and done a few things wrong and a lot right. And so we're not perfect, but we also know what mistakes we've made.
Yes, we've kind of learned by doing.
Oh, there you are, Lonnie. You found me. Hi, Pam. So let's get started. It's kind of like why you're not losing weight or why you don't think, here I is. See, I believe in this so well that our daughter, Sarah, is on this diet. My brother is on this diet. So it's actually for us not a diet. After 2 years, we don't really have to think really hard about this diet. Truly,
it becomes second nature.
It's come second nature, and I don't have to think about it. But I will say, for anybody that says, well, they fell off the wagon, they slipped, they backslid, really what you did is you made a choice to eat bad. Let's just call it what it is. You make a choice to eat bad. Sometimes it's the best choice you can make, like when we were at Busch Gardens.
Yes, in Florida this weekend.
And we got some of their meat platter, and it was covered in sauce. Not the best, but it was the best thing I could do at the time.
Yeah, that's true. And we admit that.
And we admit that. I ate the ribs with the sauce on it. Did I enjoy it? Not really, to be honest. So what people are not doing, what I'm seeing, that especially newcomers, or maybe you've been on keto for a while and you've gotten used to it and you've gotten some bad habits.
Maybe become a little complacent.
And you're not losing weight because you're eating too many carbs. And I'll have people say to me, not just in the group, but other places and maybe privately, I don't eat, a lot of carbs and I'm not losing weight. And then if you say, write everything you eat down and let's look at it, they won't do it. Because maybe deep down they know that they're not being as compliant with the program as they could be. Now, sometimes people make honest mistakes. It's not on purpose.
Yeah, it happens.
You think, oh, this is a good food, and you find out it's not really a good food. It's something that's really kind of got more crappy garbage in it than you thought it did. Or it's you're eating too much of it. And I'm sure when you tell patients to write their food logs down, that the ones that are going to be successful do, and the ones that aren't may not.
That's true. I mean, it's easy to fool ourselves. I really do believe in keeping a food journal. If there are leaks in your eating habits, keeping an honest food journal
Honest.
is a good way of reviewing and finding out what leaks you're having in your keto. And even if it's not anything you show anybody else,
Right.
but I highly think that, well, I'm following keto okay, but I'm not losing any weight. So the next thing that I recommend is going ahead and keeping a detailed, honest food journal.
And when we talk about honest, we're talking about all those licks, bites, nibbles, tastes, one peanut M&M, one bite of pizza crust, one glass of wine, a half a glass of wine. You know, those things add up over the course of not just a day, but a course of a week. And some people think their body resets every 24 hours, but it doesn't. So yeah, I ate potato chips today and I didn't gain any weight, but 3 days later, suddenly my weight's up, but I hadn't eaten any potato chips in a few days because the body works in a linear process. It's not just 24 hours, you know. And if I don't gain weight, this time I ate the chips or the pizza or the beer, then I'm not going to. But it's going to affect your ketosis over a period of days.
And certainly if you're in ketosis, you eat things that knock you out of ketosis, well, then it takes time for the body to get back into ketosis again. And for some people, that may take a little bit longer.
And things like, now, Tracy, you know, you say you've eliminated dairy. Butter doesn't have to be dairy. Butter, if you make ghee out of it, which is heat it and then skim off the butter and leave the milk solids at the bottom, has really no carbs in it. So there is no dairy left in ghee. You can buy ghee at Aldi's or Walmart, but you can also make it yourselves. And it's not just one thing. It's what's working in your body, and you have to find out what's not working. It's how many total carbs. It's how much calories. Are you getting enough fat? Are you getting too much fat? And it's just kind of going back to the basics, and that's kind of what we want to talk about.
And certainly being aware of those foods like almond flour and certain nuts, you know, and certain qualities are good. But if you eat too much of them, that can add up.
Ghee is butter. Ghee is butter with the milk solids removed. I make it when I do make it. I don't use it much anymore, but when I did make it at first, I just threw it in the Instant Pot, let it go with the pot open on slow cook, and after a couple hours, I would pour off the fat and leave the milk solids behind. And then I would just put it in a canning jar.
Yeah, you can buy ghee, but it certainly is cheaper just to buy some butter and heat it up and make it on your own.
If you want ghee. You don't have to have ghee.
Yeah.
It's if you are having a problem with dairy. And butter, probably the amount of dairy in butter is so minimal that it is not going to affect your weight loss. It is not going to stall you.
And if you'd rather use butter, use butter.
You know,
not a problem.
Use avocado oil. Use olive oil. You know.
Yeah. The fat of your choice.
The fat of your choice. What I see too many people do is not track their carbs well. Now, for some people, I don't track my carbs. I've not had a problem, but I also tend not to eat a lot of carby foods. Now, we do in the file section have a list of foods that we think are good to eat. And the carby the vegetables that are listed in there tend to be greens, like leafy greens, like spinach and kale and mustard greens. You can cook it with bacon, whatever, or ham. Cruciferous vegetables. Cruciferous vegetables are cabbage, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, those are your cruciferous vegetables. Green beans, while okay, are not a cruciferous vegetable.
Mm-hmm.
They are actually a legume. And they are on the little higher carbier end of the vegetable world, although they are acceptable. Some other vegetables won't throw you out of ketosis, even though they may be considered a little carbier, that are root vegetables like radishes, because you can cook with radish and it can make a potato substitute. Like if you make a pot roast in the crock pot, I think I've done it before and put some in it. It's kind of in, for me, I just cut it in half. And then other people are stalling because they're adding too many foods like that have almond flour, that are the keto waffles, keto pizza, keto snacks, keto candy, keto shakes, keto whatever. And they're not doing the basics. Carbs under 20 grams a day.
The basics.
The basics. Fat, adequate fat. You know, if you're eating lots of protein, but you're not using enough fat with it, then you're not going to be burning, you're not really maybe fat burning as much as you should.
Avocado oil's great. I don't think you really need to balance it with another oil. Fat is fat, and that's what the body sees it as. We only recommend avoiding oils that may be inflammatory, like soybean and canola oil.
Seed oils are not good for
seed
you.
Oils.
There is nothing such as balancing it out. People have put lots of woo into it, and they complicate it.
Yeah, use whichever one you have and whichever one you like. Some people love coconut oil. Some people don't like the taste. Then use avocado oil. We use both.
We use avocado, butter.
Yeah. If you want to fry something in butter, you can do that.
Yeah, I keep a jar of bacon fat on the counter.
Yeah, and whatever you happen to have at home, it's, you know, it doesn't need to be complicated.
Angel, yes, you need to eat the fat. And that's my point.
That's the whole concept of a ketogenic diet. And again, I can get on my soapbox again, but we've been fed propaganda for 40, 50 years that it's fat is the enemy. And that's been, in some cases, been promoted by the sugar industry. The connection between fat, coronary artery disease, and weight gain is at best tenuous, if it even exists at all. Increasing evidence shows it's carbohydrates. That is our enemy. That's why we're here. Fat is our friend, and I say that to patients. I say that in our little booklet. It's the carbohydrates. That's the enemy. And you can eat fat and lose weight. That's the whole object of a ketogenic diet.
That's what I've always said. You eat fat to society till you're full. You eat moderate amount of meat, protein, eggs, and then you eat fat till you're full. Yeah, you don't have to gorge yourself on a stick of butter. But I always tell everyone, you need the fat. Your body needs the fat to go into ketosis.
If somebody is coming in and they say, I'm hungry all the time, then we know
they're not eating fat.
Not eating enough fat. It's kind of hard to undo that thinking, but that's what we're trying to get people to do. That we want to throw that low fat stuff out the window right here.
Yeah.
And get everybody eating healthy fat and cutting out the carbohydrates.
As a matter of fact, when I came back from my graduation and the weekend, the diet wasn't the best. Now, granted, I ate some really good seafood, but there was some gluten in it. There was some sugar in some of the stuff, you know, and I didn't feel well. So, and then he felt all bloaty. So he fasted and just had his electrolyte solution and water and coffee and tea, you know, and that's how he did it. And what I did is then I made a very fatty drink with cream, and to try to get myself back into ketosis and to feel full without eating a lot of extra foods. And it really worked pretty good. I really didn't have to, after I drank a nice fatty drink, I felt better.
And we are just kind of back in the groove now after we got back on Monday.
Yeah. And today's Wednesday, so it's only taken us about 2 days to get back in the groove.
So we're back in the groove again. And again, like Tammy said, we're not perfect. There are instances where you do go off plan.
Right. And I had a couple of cocktails, and I'm sure there was sugar in those cocktails.
And nobody is perfect, but the true part of this is getting back into the lifestyle and getting back on track after you've been on vacation, after you've been on a holiday or a birthday or whatever.
And so what we're trying to say is, if you're not losing weight, check and see how much keto syrup, how much keto waffles, how much keto pizza, how much almond flour, how much garbage are you adding into your diet versus protein, fat, with, some carbohydrates that's complex. You can overdo the nuts. Nut flour, it's still got carbs in it. It's not a freebie. It's not like your butter and your steak, So until you're really fat burning, or if you've stopped losing, go back to just protein and fat for a little while. With
carbs
just
below 20 grams per day.
Or even almost zero. Just go down to nothing for a couple of days, just to get your body back into fat burning. What a lot of times happens is that you need to reset your diet. Really take it down, either do a 20-hour, 24-hour fast, and then just eat fat and a little protein for a day, almost do a fat fast.
Salt.
Your salt, and to see where you're going to jumpstart and recheck your diet. Write down what you're putting in your mouth. You think but then you don't realize, well, you were making the kids something, or you were making somebody something, and you tasted this, or you had an extra spoonful of that, or you took a nibble of someone's French fry, or there are tons of things you do throughout your day that's mindless eating. And those are the things that are stalling you. Rarely, if you're eating low carb, high fat, are you going to truly stall. Now, sometimes what can happen is your body hits its set point. It's where it wants to be. It may not be where you want to be. It's where it needs to be. I would say that's been with you. You kind of hit a set point.
Yeah, hit a plateau weight, a set point.
And he's okay with that. Is as skinny as he wants to be? Maybe not. But is he healthy? I'd say yeah.
I think so.
My weight isn't exactly where I'd like it to be. But at my age, maybe I don't need to be as skinny as I did and was in my 30s.
And to be sure, some people, when they come in for weight loss, may have unrealistic expectations. You're not going to weigh what you weighed in high school.
Right.
And especially if you're, my age, in early 60-ish, you're not going to weigh the same as you did in high school. But if you're healthy, if your blood work looks good and your doctor's happy, then I think you're achieving the lifestyle you should be achieving.
So are you at a plateau? Are you stalled? Or are you where your body should be? And sometimes you can go a long period of time without losing, and then all of a sudden your clothes start to get looser. And then maybe you'll start losing again. But really check that, check your diet.
And if you want to do a little intermittent fasting along the way, then you can certainly do that.
I would highly recommend it.
Especially after you become fat adapted. If you become fat adapted, it's much easier to fast. If you fast too early while you're still burning carbs, you may have some hypoglycemia problems. But once you become fat adapted, that generally doesn't happen. You're not going to get hypoglycemic because your body's already burning its own fat, and you won't have that problem.
And he regularly goes from like from dinner or an early evening snack until dinner without eating, other than his coffee, his electrolyte solution, maybe a Snapple tea or something. But he does that regularly, and he doesn't get hungry. And as a matter of fact, when you're really, really burning the ketones, you can sometimes taste it, but you find you're not as hungry or you don't eat as much. And that's how you know you're really starting to burn the fat. If you're hungry all the time, you're doing something wrong.
Which brings me up about ketones. If you want to test, that's up to you. I don't require people to do that. You can buy keto sticks at the pharmacy if you want to, especially if you're first starting.
Although after you're burning for a while, your ketones are going to drop.
Ketones may go down in your urine.
Because your body's burning them and you're not peeing them off anymore.
And so there are ways of checking your blood ketones, but that'll be for another video.
I don't do it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
There is a breath ketone, there's a blood ketone. I don't do it. I think people get too tied up into all the expensive keto things rather than keeping it basic. And then if you don't have money for good quality for your protein and you're not eating the correct amount of protein because you're eating too much keto waffle or keto pizza, then cut that crap out and get back to eating your protein and your fat. I don't want you to eat a pound of bacon as your fat. Cook your meat in some bacon fat. Get some, all these has a 25 fat hamburger. That's great. It's cheap. It's high fat. You can cook it in a skillet, and that's a good fatty meat. 2 of them hamburger patties, you probably got your fat for
you're pretty good to go.
Yeah.
Shopping is not hard with keto, and certainly that's a prime example of that. We kind of like Aldi's.
Yeah.
And but you can buy stuff at Walmart or anywhere.
Yeah, we shop at Aldi's, Walmart, Kroger, and I do have some. I do use almond flour. I use Miracle Lupin flour. I do a lot of things, but I've been on this for 2 years. I was raised by a professional chef. So my level of what I've cooked in my life, I was cooking international foods before we married,
Absolutely.
So where I cook is not where I expect everybody else to cook. I want you to cook good, basic, fatty meats, chicken thighs,
chicken wings,
cheap hamburger. Get a pot roast, throw it in the brown it, throw it in the crock pot, add your, beef broth, water, a little onion, a little radish, a few things like that, and then you've got a meal. You can eat that at work, heat it up and put it in a thermos if you don't have a microwave at work. Put a little extra butter in it if you want. Everything's better with butter. That's the thing I use the most of. I use a lot of cream cheese. I use a lot of butter.
We had ribeye steak today for dinner, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
And we coated it with a nice layer of butter before we put it on the griddle, and it came out fabulous.
And so we didn't have any carbs for dinner tonight. We just didn't. Because we knew we ate off plan for a while. So now we're really tightening our
straight and narrow.
Tightening our diet up. Lots of water. Replenish those fluids. But if you're not losing, maybe you should start writing down what you eat.
Yeah.
There is an app called Carb Manager, and that some people find that really good. Try watching the amount of snacks. Watch the boredom eating.
Some of us are snackers and some of us aren't. I'm a snacker.
I'm a snacker.
So we got to be especially careful with that as well.
Right. And I'm a boredom snacker. So I've learned if I feel snacky, I get a cup of decaf tea, a cup of herbal tea in the evening, and And that really helps the snacking. This morning I was fasting, but I was like overly hungry, so I got a cup of tea and put a lot of cream in it to boost my fat up.
And you can do that with coffee too. If you want to put a little butter, a little heavy whipping cream in your coffee, that's fine. That's a way of getting fat without the carbohydrates.
Yeah. And, so there's a lot of ways to do it, but, it's watching.
And Angel mentioned MyFitnessPal. Yeah, you can use MyFitnessPal to follow your carbohydrates, but kind of just use it as a tool. I probably wouldn't rely on it totally. Like I said, those of you with iPhones or Android, CarbMaster is a good app. So I would probably recommend another app that's kind of more with carbohydrates. And again, with most things, read the labels. They're easy enough to read.
I was going to say the exact same thing. Read the label, use pen and paper, write it down.
And there's some things like, ribeye steak. That has 0 carbs.
And you may not be able to eat a ribeye steak. Can't afford it. But get a piece of bologna.
Yeah, a piece of bologna, pepperoni. There are no carbs in that. Bologna. Growing up in southern West Virginia, we ate bologna a lot. And you can fry up some bologna and you're not getting any carbs. So
I got to check the label. Also read the labels because there's foods that have a lot of hidden carbs in them. Watch your serving size. Yeah, it's 0 carbs or 1 gram of carb and it's a half a slice. Well, you're not going to eat only half a slice.
Yeah, and certainly when you're going down to basics, be very careful with net carbs as well. And I would try to, if you're really wanting to get back into ketosis, stick with total carbs.
And stay away from protein drinks for a while, pizzas, even stuff you make yourself. Just get back to the basics.
It's not hard.
And then once you're really going, then you can add in, he makes a great keto pizza, but we don't eat it very often.
Because while it's lower in carbs,
it's not carb free.
It's not carb free.
I think I've had it maybe once this year, maybe twice.
Yeah. So it's a treat or a once in a while thing, that's fine. And be careful with almond flour. Almond flour is low carb, but it's not carb free. So you need to be careful with almond flour as well. It's good, but still got to be careful with how much of that you have.
And another thing, for some people, eating something that tastes sweet can affect their insulin levels. Your body can actually, just by eating the taste of something sweet, even if it's a 0 carb, will shoot out insulin.
And it can be, that's what we call a trigger food. And for some people, if you eat that sweet, that kind of triggers that mechanism, like Tammy said. And so the body's, perceiving that it's going to get something sweet. Let's squirt some insulin out there. And
it's going to affect your blood sugar. It's going to affect your hunger.
And affect your hunger as well. So watch that. Also, get plenty of sleep, get plenty of rest as well. Certainly stress hormones can affect you. So for those of you out there, try to get adequate amounts of sleep and rest every night. Some of us need more sleep than others, but certainly adequate sleep and rest can help a lot.
And that's true. If you're under a lot of stress, you can even gain weight just from the stress. Getting ready for boards eye. Put a little weight on for no real reason. Mostly because of stress hormones, and after boards it started to come back off.
We can't avoid stress 100%, but do what you can.
So instead of spending your money on keto cheat foods, because you can't game the system, you can't transfer your current addictions to a keto addiction.
Yeah, your body's too smart for that.
I will recommend a cookbook. Christy has just recently come out with Crazy Busy Keto. She's going to have another one coming out next year for keto for kids or family. but it's not a really big book. You can download it on your Kindle. It's got a lot of really good, easy recipes that will also include the basics that are low carb, high fat, moderate protein.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody got any questions?
Yes, our favorite part, the question and answer.
We're going to save this to the group, and we are going to also put it on YouTube as part of our YouTube channel.
Yeah, we're working on, really this year we're going to be expanding our YouTube channel. So I invite you to go over there and subscribe. We don't have a lot of videos there yet, but we're working on some content that I think will be really great that we'll be adding to YouTube. If you want your friends to go to the YouTube, go to that as well. And so just hit the subscribe button. I've been working on some videos that we'll put on that will have some recipes and some things that we've been working on.
Yeah, there's 3 going to go up, but he's got to get, well, it's finding the time for editing.
Yeah,
he's got to do some editing
a
on
little
them.
bit of a learning curve there, but we'll work on it. We'll get her done for you guys, and we'll get those videos up on YouTube. There's already some stuff there, so check out the content that we already have on there.
And we'll post it to the group
when we add more YouTube videos. Although if you hit the subscribe, you'll get notifications.
Well, you have to hit the notification button too.
Yes, the notification button as well.
I'll give you a little hint that's going to go up. It has to do with my ever famous meatballs.
Oh yeah, that'll be great.
So guys, I'm really tired tonight. We're still kind of recovering from graduation.
Middle of the week. So certainly feel free to put questions in on the group as well, even after the video. And you can feel free, if you joined in late, the video will be saved on there. You can join in and watch it earlier.
Love you guys. Stay keto.
Bye-bye. Have a great day.